Welcome to Aesthetics Unscripted. I'm your host, Kim, your regenerative and longevity expert, and I am going to have so much fun with you, the viewers, today because my guest is Don Adeesha from Business of Aesthetics. He is the most amazing person from an amazing company, and tune in right now to hear all about why. Thank you for joining me
Amazing.
today, Don.
Thank you for having me here, Kim. It's a pleasure and privilege to be here with you.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. Business of Aesthetics, I know all about it. Can you please let the viewers know what is it? What was like that beginning journey? What is it? How did it come about and why?
Usually, I'm the one who's asking the questions, right? So it's a little bit weird to be speaking more than 30 seconds at a time. But nevertheless, um, I am Don Adeesha, host of the Business of Aesthetics podcast, webinars, and any kind of community events. And of course, I do want to be very transparent upfront. I'm not the expert here. I usually ask, and I'm privileged to ask the questions from the experts in the aesthetic industry. And when we are talking about the start of Business of Aesthetics, it started 7 years ago. It was a bit of a expansion from eco marketing, because eco marketing is behind Business of Aesthetics and also in other verticals as well, such as law, dental. And they were expanding onto aesthetics because they saw a gap where there weren't that many private equity action happening back then as it did in the 2022s and then 2023 era. But they saw that there was a major gap where a lot of great aestheticians as well as practice owners were unable to find the ideal patient, right? They might have had great skills clinically, they might have had great team, right? But they were finding themselves a little bit short on the ideal patient. Now that's the distinction that we really believe in, and because you can get all types of patients, right? You can get in all types of inquiries. That's just a given when we're working in any kind of market. But how do you attract the ideal patient for your practice, for your treatments, whether that be injectables, whether that be, as you said, Kim, regenerative medicine? How can you attract, and then the next step would be to retain. So that's really where the start of the community of business aesthetics came about, because it was a like-minded group of people who really wanted to figure it out, how to get the right people in the seat. Once they're there, what are we going to do about it? How are we going to make the patient experience immaculate, to the point that profitability is not a question anymore? So really educating people on the business sides of aesthetic practices. That's what Business of Aesthetics, the community, is all about. It's really a hub for education. And the way we go about doing it nowadays is through podcasts, right? We get to interview some of the best minds in the aesthetic industry worldwide, right? And I'm so privileged, honestly. I love my job, right? As a host, to be able to sit here and ask questions from people like Dr. Buford. We were talking about regenerative aesthetics with Dr. Shino Bay. I had a fascinating episode with one doctor from France about how he had brought in ultrasound scanning into the world of BBLs, right? And completely uh, reinventing the whole situation where it was much more of a safer procedure, really figuring it out. And those kind of tiny details on a bit more of the clinical side, clinical innovations. But then we also talk to HR specialists, right? And get their insights on the differences between, I mean, I know a lot of our listeners, especially if this is your only practice, you might be having a lot of 1099 staff, how compliant that is. And then compliance, of course, we get to talk with attorneys that specialize in aesthetics.
Now, that's a huge point. Exactly, because in New York specifically now, there's been a big shift away from contractual 1099 employees. So the definition here in New York now is if the employee, even if their time slot changes, if they're not in on a regular time every day and, clocking in and clocking out at the same time on the same days, even if they have a random schedule, if that person is there performing under a certain definition of very specific action items, then that is an employee. That is not a contractor. So in New
That,
York, they're really pushing individual practitioners and the biggest practices and everyone in between away from hiring like that. So
that's right.
again, without business of aesthetics, especially for new practitioners, whether they're doctors, nurses, or estheticians, it's hard to find out this information. And then unfortunately, you might be like, la, 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 happy about your business. And then a jealous competitor will turn you in, have you reported, and there's huge, huge impact on your business when those fines, maybe suspensions, you could possibly even lose your license in some cases when that happens. So that's one of the biggest reasons why I've always said business of aesthetics is so important.
So happy to hear that, Kim, and you're absolutely right. Because usually people are thinking like, I'm not gonna get audited. I'm just going to, keep it smooth and keep it running with that 1099 and the other aspect of the ghost medical director. We're all okay with it. But at the end of the day, it's your practice, it's your business, right? And doing things that are non-compliant will always open you for risk of really shutting your whole business down. And like Kim said, it could be a competitor, it could be a patient who came in that didn't have a great experience, but more often than not, Kim, apparently it's your own employee, right? The one who
Right.
wasn't happy enough and who just left, angry with you. They already know your weaknesses. It's just a call away to really cut you off. So please do be careful.
So let's let everyone know about you. So we've heard
Okay,
about Business of Aesthetics, that it's a great educational resource
it is.
for experienced persons such as myself, all the way down to the newbie that's just graduated or transitioning out of a different medical field or different career into aesthetics or cosmetic medicine. But what about you? How did you become involved with the Business of Aesthetics?
I actually get into aesthetics pretty well, not so long ago. So about 10 months ago is actually when, because prior to that, I'm more of like a person coming from the marketing perspective, digital marketing, particularly for the past 5 years. That's what I have been doing. I've had my own company, digital agency. We were so focused on content marketing. And then I sold my shares and then kind of took a bit of a more cooler backing, because my life kind of changed because baby was on the way. So I couldn't always be traveling here and there and getting to all the things that required from a director of a content marketing agency. So things worked out well, and I kind of chilled back. And then this opportunity kind of knocked on my door, and I was like, "Wow!" First, it's my love for business that got me in the first word of it, right? But then I got to learn about the aesthetic industry, and it just fascinated me to no end, even today, right? All the things that are coming out, and really, what I love the most, and what I found to be the core driver for me, particularly, is the fact that in aesthetics we serve people and elective procedures. And at the end of the day, what we're trying to help people with is really their confidence in yourself, right? And I love that. I love that. How we go about doing it, that's the name of the game, but confidence, building confidence, helping people be confident, that's really what drives me and motivates me to do better every day and try my best to ensure that our listeners, practice owners, solo injectors who are going about, their own entrepreneurial journey really find that community, find that education, find those things that they weren't aware of, right? That's the hardest part.
if we don't have confidence, how could we do honor with building confidence in our patients? So I feel like, that you've had this wonderful leap. And congratulations, by the way.
Thank you so
Expanding the
much.
family, blessings. You know what they say, 10 fingers, 10 toes, 2 eyes and a
Mm,
nose, right? We're praying for everything good. And, to have you, like when I'm on your show, I'm always on your podcast, I'm always honored to be there. And you always put together great panels. You have fantastic questions, and I love the back and forth with streamlining those questions. So, you and your co hosts are very much appreciated by the community if you don't already realize that.
amazing. That's so amazing to hear, Kim. And there's a whole team. Honestly, I'll tell you, there's about 10 people working on this project, right? At any given time to ensure that promotions are going out, outreach is happening, developing questions, like you say, we're doing, trying our best to really understand where the market's at currently, and then of course what our community, business of aesthetics community, are requesting us to cover, and then really bridging that gap, bringing in experts of different fields, of different walks of life, so that we can all learn together from everyone's experience.
Let's do a rapid fire. So I'm just going to name some subjects and this will get it
Oh,
across to the viewers. And again, for the viewers out there, this is not just for the practitioners like me that are listening. It's for the patients when we're helping you understand the level of education and continuing education that is always necessary when you're searching for a provider. So, like Don just pointed out, a new person doesn't mean they're technically inexperienced. Someone new might have done years worth of continuing education on top of their regular license. So you really have to be comfortable. I feel like, Don, how do you feel about this? I feel like when you're going to a new office, whether it's a PCP or it's a med spa or it's an individual esthetician or it's a massage therapy, whatever it is, you have to be comfortable as the patient or the client walking in that door or calling on the phone before they touch you for the first time. Ask a few pertinent questions about what's the background with the business, who's the doctor or nurse practitioner or whomever you're going to be seeing. It's not wrong to ask how long have they been in practice. In New York City and Manhattan, we have new patients that'll come in and ask to see the licenses because legally we are supposed to have them on display. Even if they're printed in a book or they're on a digital carousel, they must be in the reception. If you're a practitioner, business of aesthetics, when it comes to those legalities, do you cover them?
we are going to cover this. How about that? We're going to get our friends, our legal friends in, and then we're going to specifically cover this particular incident and really get to hear their side of it as well. Because I'm curious how the legal side of this really looks like and what is the damage it did as well. Perhaps we might even mix it up with the panel, just because in business of aesthetics we talk a lot about the patient experience. The patient experience is the cornerstone. What I'm really hearing from our expert is one of the cornerstones of a profitable practice, right? Because when your patient experience is, like I mentioned, immaculate, you have a customer for life, not a one-off injection, for life. And that's where you are going to really see that profit coming in, because when you are not capitalizing on recurring revenue, right? That's one other aspect of things. But when you're not making, you work so hard on marketing, okay? And you get this patient in, but you give them a great treatment, right? And that's it. There's no follow up. There's no booking further down the line. There's no system to that. Then what ends up happening? Perhaps they might have had an okay time. They're okay. They might consider to come back to you because they had a good experience, like I was mentioning. But what if you had booked another meeting down the line before they walked out the door, right? You're securing more revenue for the future. And that's recurring revenue right there. But what happens when you don't have that fantastic patient experience? It becomes difficult for you to convince that patient who just experienced something not that great to really rebook again. So, patient experience, top cornerstone, and what this person has done is fantastic for any other practice that is around her area, because her business is shut down, so competitors are happy about that. Let's be honest here. Opening up a new practice is one of the hardest things for anyone to do, right? It's a whole new level of risk taking. You must be confident in something, and that something is usually your skills. So that new practice that opened up might have the best lead injector from a practice that's just a few miles down the road, right? That's another problem in the community, or that's a little bit of a fear from some people who are not really aware how to foster community. Instead, they look at it as competition, right? So in that case, a new practice might usually have a great injector as compared to someone like our case study here.
Right, exactly. Or businesses as they, especially, I find that especially franchises are very much like a churn and burn. There's a lot of turnover with staff. It seems to be a great place in franchises for newer staff to get experience, and then they break off either to a higher paying position with a more prestigious location as opposed to maybe one of those big franchise chains, or they just want the experience, and then when they build up the confidence, as you mentioned, they move out and they open up on their own at that point. So I agree with you. There are very good reasons to not frown upon that brand new location that's in your area. But let's steer it back to the business of aesthetics to give some more
Yes.
clarity to the viewer of all
Yeah.
the things that we, the practitioners, are learning from you and sharing with each other. Like you said, within our community, giving back to each other and sharing our knowledge instead of just being like, I know what I know and I'm great at it. I'm not going to share it with anybody else. From legal aspects to operating business to marketing and direct education on procedures when it comes to actually performing different modalities. And like you said, there will be doctors that will share breakout treatments and how treatments have evolved. So just run down all the different subjects that Business of Aesthetics shares with us providers that makes it so much better of an experience for the practice for the actual patient themselves.
So at Business of Aesthetics, we do a lot of podcasts, webinars, summits. So those three very, and the topics we cover are, well, what do we not cover? Honestly, I'll be very frank. We do limit the clinical side of things, right? Because that's getting more than enough covered, and we focus a lot more on the business side of things, as the name implies. So we talk about burnout, we talk about growth plateaus, we talk about being overwhelmed. Honestly, that's underrated, right? That's an underrated topic, and where are you going to really talk about that? And when you do talk about it, that's when you figure out how to get out of it, and that's a quality of life problem, and we do talk about that. What are the practice owners going through? Then of course, like we mentioned, we do talk about the compliance side of things a little bit from the legal perspective, HR perspective, and oh yeah, a very fun side is accounting. We do get into the most fun part about a business, accounting side, and we make it fun, right? We
Yeah,
try
it
our
is.
best.
It actually is because if you're not into mathematics and those calculations, it can make my eyes bleed. But I always learn something new every time I tune in, and I don't have to force myself to watch. It's very engaging.
Love that. That's exactly what we try to do. Keep it simple, right? Because these sessions are usually, they last around an hour. Some go for 2 to 3. Those are more in-depth summits, webinars where we have around 6 to 10 panelists going on multiple panels. But usually an hour, right? And we do try to get as much as possible in the simplest form, so that while you're on your way to work or just having a walk, listening to a pod, you just get those things that were just out of your reach, right? Out of your horizon, because you just didn't know. It was those unknown unknowns. And when it comes to accounting, wow, Kim, that just makes my eyes like, glow up every time we get on a
Yes.
conversation with one of these fantastic CPAs. And then an underrated side of things, I think real estate. When I do get the chance to talk to a real estate agent who specializes in giving their services to aesthetic practices, wow, it just it's such an underrated topic, because it can affect this the valuation of your practice. It can, and also it is the single biggest commitment you can make as a business owner, and that is on your real estate.
It's like that old saying. It's an old saying for a reason because it's true. You'd rather have the poorest house, per se, or the poorest real estate in a rich neighborhood than the richest in a poor neighborhood. And it's because it's an aesthetic business. Let's face it. I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Don, no matter where you are in your community, if you don't take pride not only in the treatments that you're performing in your front of house, the experience and the confidence level, as you say, Don, that you're giving back to each of your clients or patients, depending on what your business is, and you have to be more focused also on exactly where your location is and what it looks like from the outside. That's just you could be great, and if you look terrible from the outside, that's not aesthetic. That's not going to really attract people who are looking to feel good, to look good, and the better they look, the better they'll feel. And I'm not saying you need to spend $1 million on an awning, and you don't have to be on ground level, but it is very important where you're located. It took me myself, even in Manhattan, a year of dragging my commercial real estate agent around to find exactly the right location that fit into my size needs and budget, but to still be in an area like where I'm located, which is Columbus Circle. So I love that you cover that because I do know of other similar, newer broadcasts like your podcast with Business of Aesthetics, and they never touch on that subject. So
Yeah.
this is another reason why I love coming back to learn more and more from all of you because real estate is so important.
And then last but not least, we do talk about trends, devices, weighing in on, the latest objects, or rather even the philosophy behind why you would go and get that new device, right? So, and of course, AI these days, oh, just can't seem to run away from that.
Oh, right.
We spoke with the person who was talking about a cloud aesthetic practice. Have you heard of such a thing? So there's this person, I'm not going to name his name because you know what? In that panel, one of our other panelists was pretty heated because they did not agree with any of the things that our new technological innovative person was saying. But basically, I found the concept fascinating because he was renting a building, right? And inside that, he had all these rooms geared up with the necessary equipment. And what he was doing is he was giving aesthetic nurse practitioners, injectors who were a registration, a membership with him. So he doesn't own the building, he rents it, but he does pack it up with the necessary equipment. And these injectors, they have their own social media profiles. They uh, gather their own clients, and when they do need a place to do their treatments, right, and their procedures, they would just book a room at this aesthetic cloud building, and yeah, they would have their patient come in to that location and then conduct the treatment, and then they'll be done. That's the basic idea. And the owner of this place was in the panel, and he has apparently 300 buildings all across the nation.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. Now there are business suites that they've turned into aesthetic suites. like you said.
That's
So
right.
you could rent them by the day,
That's right.
the hour, by
That
some
was
of them are hourly, some of them are weekly, some of them are monthly, and some of them are long term. And
right.
I've actually trained and certified in certain modalities on continuing education, say like microneedling or whatnot, other nurse injectors that would rent out of those rooms. So that's interesting. That must have been a great panel if one was completely against it. Do you mind sharing why was that other panelist completely against this model?
Of course, the other panelist was completely against it because it was completely against their philosophy of what a good aesthetic brand should be, right? That panelist was big into training, keeping the team in-house, continued education, treating like a family. The patients are loyal like family, and so when it came to the complete opposite and where it was uh, it was not that tight knit and everyone was left to their own devices. There wasn't really a loyalty to the place per se, loyal to the brand, but rather the injector. So that's why the other panelist was a
That
bit
must have been a
off
very good
the.
panel.
That
I
was
can
that
see, yeah,
was
I can see it from both sides. I can see why the business model was created. I can see why certain practitioners would be attracted to that because it's quick, easy money, right? And it's also the non-committal of I don't have to rent my own space. I don't have to buy my own space. I don't have to be committed to my own space. I don't have to furnish my own space and insure it, right? There's a million things we have to do when we have our own space. So I get that side of it, but I also am vehemently passionate, as you know, which is why, again, I'm honored that you have asked me to be on a few of your panels. Always a pleasure. Great to be there. But I'm wildly into that continuing education because just like your smartphones, there are new things that come out in our business every 5 minutes. Like we can't keep up hardly, even when we're into our continuing education. So I can't imagine practitioners that go for months and for years without updating their education. So again, I want to express my thanks for Business of Aesthetics and yourself, Don, and your staff for giving us an outlet and giving us a resource to reach out to because persons such as myself as a medical aesthetic educator where I can train you literally on a device and teach you the pitfalls of the device and the other devices and how to keep this safe and how to keep it compliant and who to use it for, who not to use it for. I can do all of that. But what else makes us such great practitioners? It's persons and outlets such as yourself that we could reach out and learn about more about, like you said, self care. We have to remember to take care of ourselves as well. And there's very few places for us to talk about that except we can also come to Business of Aesthetics and watch pre-recorded panels or jump in live with those webinars and all of those other wonderful subjects that you've shared with us that Business of Aesthetics is here for all of us. So as a provider, I thank you. But if you're a viewer right now watching as a patient, what's your best word of advice for them when they're seeking out a new practitioner?
if they're seeking out a new practitioner, search their name up, right? We just talked about it. Search their name up, search their uh, practice up. If you're looking for a specific type of treatment, of course, search that and then look for a practice that really does well in those treatments. Use your own judgment because at the end of the day, it's your body, right? So check out a few places, look at their outcomes because you know that's going to be you, right? That's going to be you. Check out those outcomes, see the ones that really resonate with how you want the outcome to be because even though an injector might be using the same units, same what to say, the vendor, the outcomes are different. It's in the technique, it's in the ethos of the practice. So ensure you really check out those before and afters. And yeah, Google reviews are also great. Those, but uh, when you have all those things, give them a call, see how they make you feel, and then take it from there. Because at the end of the day, this is an elective procedure. It's about the confidence. You should feel great at every step of the way. If you don't, do take that as a little bit of a signal, and I'd say proceed with caution.
Absolutely. That's excellent advice, Don. And for a practitioner from anywhere in the world, right? Because your podcast is obviously digital. So, where does a practitioner find you to watch pre recorded? To where do they sign up for alerts for upcoming lives? And what is your social media?
Businessofesthetics.org. I'll repeat that one last time. Business of Aesthetics, that's one word, .org, O-R-G. And you can find us on, all, we are there on Facebook. We're very live on LinkedIn. Again, Business of Aesthetics is the tagline, and then on Instagram as well. But if you want to check out the pre-recordings, the podcast, all of them are available at our website, businessofesthetics.org, for free. It's completely free because really this is a community work. And on Facebook, we got a Facebook page with around 11,000 like-minded people. So it's again free. It's a free resource. It's just the community giving back to the community.
Oh my God, I love that. That's fantastic because I know the other organizations that are doing similar are all paid organizations. You have to join as a member to be able to tap into the resources available. So, I mean, thank you so much for pointing that out, Don. That Business of Aesthetics is not only giving back to our providers, but each one of us, we don't have to pay to do it. That's like almost unheard of nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, that's made possible by Eco Marketing, the company behind Business of Aesthetics. And if you are ever interested in figuring out if your digital presence is up to par, do check out businessofesthetics.org slash MSM. That's stands for Marketing Strategy Meeting, where you will get a complimentary marketing strategy meeting with Echo Marketing, where they'll take a look at how you're doing on your digital end and what you need to do basically to really hit those growth goals that you have for 2026 and beyond. That's a completely complimentary 45-minute session with one of our senior marketing analysts. That's our gift to you.
Awesome. That is great. And it's been such a pleasure again to have you here today, Don. I will be following Business of Aesthetics like I always do. And I hope to see you again soon.